Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
And my name's Emily.
And we are working our way through the epic Dracula the series from 1990, a syndicated Canadian, and it's very Canadian this episode.
Oh boy, is it ever?
Yeah. Canadian, not sitcom length show.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there. We're on episode 11. Get a job. Officially made it halfway through, Andrew. We officially made it.
And this was one heck of a hill to climb this episode. Okay.
We have this is directed by Alan King, which is a different Alan than had been directing before, right?
Yes, but maybe it was an alias. But no, they were outside way more than Alan Eastman goes outside, because Alan Eastman, I think, was a vampire who couldn't go out in the daylight. What are your three things?
I woke up kind of late today and I watched it again and I took notes, but I do not have great things. I'm going to talk about maybe you can help me along with this, about job laws in Luxembourg.
This was in 1990 though, so they don't have those EU job laws that keep you from working for overt sexual predators.
But maybe you can help me with that, because I hear you're an expert.
Okay.
Because I've got 2 points on that, and then Harry Anderson babies. I guess I'm only going to do the 2 because I don't really have. Oh, and ambition. I'm going to do ambition. The first 2 are pretty quick, straight out the gate.
Well, I'm going to do dog transformation. How did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was eating.
It's proof. And, oh God. I don't know. Everything else is gross. Okay, fine. Just boobs. Okay. So the get a job in question is Chris's biggest episode ever, I think.
It's Chris's biggest episode ever. Yeah.
The first, or maybe the one where they go dig up the graveyard, or they go dig up the park, but this is Chris's first time having
it's a Chris heavy episode. Yeah.
Even heavier than his musical episode. That was last episode, right?
Yes,
because Sophie's hot for his bod after she watches him rock out, which means these were shown out of order, like I said they would be. I
don't necessarily think that particular part of it, though, her being hot for him, is out of order. She was hot for him. She got hot for him in the last episode, and that explains her behavior in this episode. But the poloraids thing, yes.
There's a thought. They shot all of Dracula the series at once and cut it into episodes. What a terrifying thought.
Ugh.
We would have heard of it because it would have been like that rumor on The Wizard of Oz, the editor hung himself and it's available in frame. Okay. So we open to shitty 90s music, and Chris on his bike, and he goes to the Heisenberg Collection.
Yes.
Is what it's called. It appears to be a university or some sort of building that looks university-like, but it is not. It is a high-class art gallery.
With very little art being shown, but that's another thing.
Yeah, it's another thing.
And one thing I did notice is he pulls his bike up and parks his bike right in front of the sign, and I'm like, "Way to go, pal! Way to go! That's super cool." Now nobody can read the sign, asshole.
Smooth dude.
As we are about to see.
In his gigantic jean jacket.
Yeah.
both he has a gigantic jean jacket. Sophie's got a giant, whatever, not power suit, but giant
shoulder pads.
Yeah. But then so does Lucard. But no, Sophie's whole thing is big. But then Lucard's got a suit jacket that's too big at one point too.
It's the 90s.
This show is all about style. So Chris goes into the Heisenberg collection, not collected. And he goes up to interview with the owner of the shop for a courier position.
Julia Heisenberg,
who is in a skirt, and we get a very long look at her legs, and so does Chris. And she asks if he, has his own bike, to which he responds, "I own my own beautiful," because he's so flustered.
That happens to me all the time. People make Freudian slips because I'm so beautiful. It happens to me all the time.
We'll talk about some things in a second that I certainly hope you don't do. But yes, she thinks it's adorable, which is sort of the first sign. Because this isn't Max and that lady who becomes a vampire. Like, he's not some cute, like, if Max were cute.
Little precocious little kid.
Yeah, no, this is just like, I'm a doofus teen who can't keep my tongue off the floor.
Yeah.
Also, she is basically, if you described her just like in very broad demographic strokes, she's the same as Sophie.
Yeah.
She's a brunette. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a brunette white lady.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Who's older than what I thought. I looked up the actress. She's older than what I thought, but she looks very young and dresses like an old lady in her skirt suit. Her hair's all done up like an old lady. It's really weird. And I get it. It was the 90s, but I don't know. I didn't like it. But the whole job interview process, apparently in the Luxembourg, is just asking random personal questions. My point was, perfect. My mom says I have no ambition. Oh, she says there's no room for climbing the ladder, right? There's no ladder to climb. And he's like, great. My mom says I don't have any ambition. You want me to get her to write a letter? It was so stupid, but it made me laugh. But she was charmed by it. And so no paperwork, no HR, no onboarding. You are going to be the courier for my art gallery, couriering on your bike very expensive paintings. Congratulations. The premise, though.
The premise, yes.
The premise, though, is that he's going to be riding his bike around with very expensive paintings, not getting damaged on cobblestone streets. It's the whole premise just doesn't work for me. I'm not excited about it, but
I'm sorry, but as he was leaving, he talked to her boobs, which she thought was really cool. And that like sealed the deal, was him looking down her shirt and talking to her boobs.
Well, why do you think I'm always wearing high collared things on the podcast, Andrew? I don't want to give you any idea.
Well, I didn't realize I was applying for a job to be your courier. Okay. So as he leaves, and it's a really long opening too. I think it's the longest open. And I'm like, this is even worse than you. But as he leaves, Lucard pulls up and gets out and looks around, and Lucard's
in business with this woman, presumably.
So then we get opening titles, and then it's back home for Max and Gustav, Sophie, and Chris to be doing their research. So we're finally getting to see their vampire hunting in action.
Yes.
And Gustav asks Max to bring Lucard's number 2 file to him, to which my note was, it's poop. And
do vampires poop? Do vampires poop?
No. Why would they? They don't have any. It's dead flesh, man. Like, no.
You'd think it would stink.
I don't. Well, we are going to get some rules. Well, yeah, I mistook last time from the Tomb of Dracula comic. He brainwashes he hypnotizes the women not to smell his rotting flesh. That's cool. What's going on all the time here. That's cool. That's hardcore. But the kids are complaining it's dull. And then Gustav's like, but the way to take out Dracula is by understanding his financial empire. It's the real basis of his power. And I'm just kind of
not the fact that he's immortal and he kills human beings and like all this other stuff. It's what made him such a force of nature before his business empire. We find out in here that he's been alive for 900 years. Has he been running a business empire for 900 years?
Max said that.
I know.
Max is an idiot.
Well, whatever.
It's more like 500, right? One was valid TPs, 1400s. Okay. But then Gustav gives Max a pop quiz. Pop quiz, hotshot. What are the 3 outcomes of a vampire attack? 1, dead as a doornail. 2, mindless zombie. 3, turn you into a vampire. Why are we getting this in episode 11?
No idea. It's where they could fit it in.
Okay. So then Chris is like, well, I need to go to work at Miss Heisenberg's. And somebody's like, oh, she's the one who bought the Reinhardt Chateau. I'm like, that wasn't a chateau.
And Sophie gets to be jealous. I don't like this character turn.
For an older woman.
I don't like this character turn for Sophie. I don't want her to be like this. I'm disappointed in the writers, not in Mia Kirshner. She was just doing what was written on the page.
A very unrewarding job. All right. So then, this is where Chris calls Dracula Captain Overbite, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
And he's like, I don't need to worry about Captain Overbite. He knows we're on to him. And it's like, yep, that's right. You are on
If by on to him, you mean multiple times you have interrupted him killing somebody as a vampire. You've witnessed him change into a bat. You've witnessed all of these things that he's doing that are bad. Then yeah, I mean, I guess he knows you're on to him because you've been in the room with him as he's being a vampire.
He started to turn your mom into a vampire to kill you, to turn you into vampires. Also, that breaks the rules because she wasn't, there's a whole, there's a full vampire thing. Too.
Yeah, there's a part vampire and the full vampire. And mom came back from being a part vampire. So that was not an option in the 3 options, right?
No wonder they're doing so well. Gustav doesn't even know the answers to his own pop quiz. Okay. So we then cut back to the art gallery. Now, she told Chris to start the next day.
Yeah.
So presumably that means this is the next day and Dracula has returned to the art gallery. Or maybe he was just in the Heisenberg collection parking lot for another reason.
Yeah, maybe. Selling drugs.
His driver needed to pee or something. Okay, so Lucard and the lady are having wine. She's being all touchy on him. And they are looking at a painting called The Venice Landfall, which is not a real painting, unfortunately. And Dracula is talking about how he has long dreamt of acquiring this great work. And it will take a couple days to arrange the details. Chris walks in, sees them, and hides in a broom closet. Dracula's putting the moves on. He likes beauty wherever he finds it.
Ugh, gross.
Which is kind of weird, right? Like wherever I find, okay. It just seems, it's like he's turning on the sexual predator charm, I guess.
Yeah.
But Julie is going for it.
Because she goes for creeps. She goes for creeps, apparently.
I mean, she liked Chris. In her line of work, as we'll discover, maybe it comes in handy to exploit the fact that if you show a guy cleavage, he will do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Until he either assaults you or post revenge porn. It's 2023 though. He just makes it on Mid Journey. So I also noticed because this was another one of those episodes that's so bad I was just writing lines of dialogue. They say until tomorrow, except it was going to take a day or two to work out the details.
Yeah. Well,
so it's gone down to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dracula leaves, and Chris falls out of the broom closet.
Very charming, very smooth, and knocks over brooms and buckets and all sorts of things, and then rushes Julia like, "Don't you know who that is? Don't you know who he is?
He's not your everyday multimillionaire." And she says, "No, he's not. He's got a real eye for art.
Yeah.
Most of these millionaires are just interested in Picasso and pork futures."
So
for some reason I have and teeth written down. I don't know what to deal with this. Maybe Chris says that?
Yeah, Chris says something about teeth. Okay. I don't remember the context.
And so he, just like in last episode, or in my opinion, next episode, he's like, "I need to tell you something. You've got to believe me." But he doesn't tell her Dracula is a vampire. He says Alexander Lucard is not a nice guy.
Yeah.
And to which she says, "I'm flattered that you're jealous, but I'm a big girl now. Go clean up that mess you made."
I'm a big girl now. She's like 42, 32 or 42.
Is she 42? Okay.
32 or 42. I don't remember now. I'm not going to go back to IMDb to find out what year she was born. Yes, I am.
Is she really old enough to be his mom, or old enough to be his mom? Like, is she older than the actress who plays his mom? Okay. So then we cut. Oh, and I must have made a note that Dracula's just out in broad daylight, so who gives a shit about anything in the show.
Yeah.
Then we cut to them having dinner, the family. In the library. Sophie, do you think Sophie cooked for all of them?
I don't think so.
Who did the cooking then?
Uncle Gustav?
You think so?
I do, kind of. She's pouring milk, but...
She is pouring milk. And she smacks Chris's hand when he tries to take seconds. And then she dishes them out to him with like 2 forks or 2 little spoons. And I'm like, this is a bad scene, Alan. Whatever your name
Alan
is. Alan King. Okay. Isn't Alan King somebody else though? With one L?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. So now they're going to tell the cops. They want to tell the cops so they can stake the place out, because we know Dracula's going to go there and hurt her. So we're going to stake the place out. And Max goes, they can stake the place out. Stake. Get it? Stake.
I'm so smart.
Not even gotten into Max's subplot yet, but it's coming.
Oh, I can't wait.
Gustav says, the authorities won't believe you. They don't believe you about the vampires.
And then isn't there talk about, you got to get evidence. Because this feeds into Max's subplot.
My note is, oh my God. So maybe it was during that section. No, I think that was when he shows up with the fucking fedora in a second.
Yeah.
Yes, the authorities won't believe you without evidence. And we don't have any evidence. All of multiple employees of Lucard Industries have gone missing.
Multiple random people have gone missing.
Random people. Yeah. You would theoretically only have to expose a Lucard Industries employee to a cross, and they would lose their shit.
And
so, there's all sorts of things.
And also, it's very easy to tie those missing people to Lucard's castle, because he'll invite them over for dinner and turn them into vampires. It's not hard.
And he did have monsters working there in the pilot. This show is all about how terrible Gustav is at being a vampire hunter and what an annoying pest he is.
Yeah.
To a local CEO, to a local business leader. Okay, so we cut to an exterior shot. of a plaza. Max is in a fedora again.
So,
and the music. Okay.
No, he's looking over a newspaper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is an English language newspaper. Whatever. We've had that discussion before about Luxembourg and how they primarily speak English, but with a heavy Canadian accent. And he's like peeking it over it, so you only see his hat. And again, I'm going to bring in Harry Anderson babies because he looks like somebody doing Harry Anderson cosplay before Night Court started. Whatever. I loved it, except he's wearing a t-shirt. Whatever. You don't wear a fedora and a t-shirt, or else you look like a dork.
You also don't have a 10-year-old boy in shorty shorts and a fedora, and your accompanying music is I'm like, it's not just strip teaser music,
right?
But it is strip teaser. It is the strip teaser music from Touch of Evil, from the burlesque show in Liberty Heights. It is the stripteaser trope music playing.
Yeah.
As Lucard pulls up and gets out of his car in broad daylight again.
Yeah.
Lucard the vampire does not notice Max, even though he's very obviously standing.
He's very obviously right there.
Sitting in front of him on a bench in a fucking fedora.
Peeking over a newspaper. I mean, you could not be more whatever.
No. Okay. Lucard has got 2 giant bodyguards with him.
Which we've never seen before.
This.
Yeah.
And they're not in the episode ever again. And he's just walking down the streets. And as he's walking away, Max takes a Polaroid picture of him. Thus, I am correct. This subplot from last episode started here. Yeah. Last episode, they said they had photographic proof that Lucard is a vampire. We will talk a little bit about what's on these Polaroids.
Later, yeah.
Okay, later. Cut to the house. Sophie comes up to Chris and is like, the Venice landfall painting was stolen from the Rijeke Museum.
Rijksmuseum.
Yeah, well, I had to check the spelling because I'm like, are they doing a Holocaust subplot? That's really fucking low class for this show.
No, it's the giant art museum in Amsterdam.
Much like, I don't speak Amsterdamish. Okay, so it was stolen in 1986. Chris is like, is there another one? And she's like, no, there's not another one. Is she selling stolen paintings? And she's like, let's go investigate. And he's like, well, I'm not going to break in. Besides, Julia Heisenberg gave me a key. And then she's like, even better, we're going to go sneak in.
Yeah. This part of Sophie I do like, because she sort of takes the bull by the horns and is like, we're doing this right now.
So they go to Chris's work.
They can't find the painting in the main gallery. Oh.
First, Chris puts his foot down and says they're not doing it. And then the next scene is them breaking in because we needed that. Okay. Yeah, it's not in the main gallery. And it's like, well, of course it's not. Like, why wouldn't you? Don't you work there? Like, why would you know what happens? Did you close up, you idiot? You close up the next day. But no, it's in the back where Chris is not allowed. Now,
this is a great scene. This is a great scene because he's standing in front of a door and he's like, we can't go. We're not allowed back in there. And Sophie grabs the door, looks him straight in the eye, and walks past him and pushes her way in. I loved that. Go fucking Sophie. That was so great. She just like, okay.
Do we think Mia Kirshner is nice when she thinks about this? Or do you think, like, give her a couple of shots of tequila and she's just like, that was the stupidest fucking year of my life. I went to some museums, it was great, but oh my God, did you ever see that? Like, fucking idiot dudes.
I don't know what she thinks about it. I mean,
doesn't she follow you on Insta? Can't you message her?
She doesn't follow me on Insta. I don't have any famous followers on Insta. Sorry.
I thought you had Frank Sinatra Jr.
No Frank Sinatra Jr. He's dead. That's complicated. That's a complicated story. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. So they going back and she's looking around. And she's like, that's it. It's a stolen painting. And then she keeps looking around and she finds a Matisse and a Renoir. And she goes, all of these paintings are stolen.
Which she just has a memory of. Just pulls it out of the air.
You know what? Chris is just a dummy and she knows like 5 things. And this is just
fair enough.
But she also knows music. Okay. So somebody follows them in though. And I thought it was going to be Lucard, but it's not. It's a local police captain who we've never met before. Captain Wolf.
Local to Hamilton, Ontario. He is
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Emily?
He was not from Luxembourg. Very heavy on the accents, which again begs the question, how did he get a job in Luxembourg as a police detective? Certainly they have he hasn't done much lately. I wonder if he's dead. He certainly is not from Luxembourg, and I'm just curious about how you become a Canadian citizen and then move into Europe and get a job. That's what I want.
I know exactly how he did it.
How?
He looked at the lady who was interviewing his boobs and she was like, you are hired, Captain Wolf. I like you. Okay. So she's like, all of these paintings are stolen. Don't arrest us. And he's like, I believe you. We've been staking this place out.
Yeah.
Just go about your business.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Max and Chris going to bed. And Max says Einstein would be proud of Chris for being, not figuring out that his boss is a crook. And then, because if Chris could figure it out, obviously the cops did too.
Yeah.
Maybe they could take on Lucard, but nobody's ever given them a reason to before. But this Captain Wolf is on it with his Canadian accent.
And I loved that Max, like, he turns his light off, or he lays down and he says, oh, I'll take that note. Like, as if to remind people, like, this is foreshadowing for the future, right? It's like he's foreshadowing the foreshadowing.
Cut to Lucard Industries, and Lucard's on the phone. He's on his clear phone.
Which I loved. I was like little 90s girl. I was like, oh my God, I want one of those phones. Whoops.
I want one of those clear plastic
That's so
phones.
Cool. You can see the insides. It lights up when it rings. I loved it.
The Fisher Price phone. Inviting Julia to dinner to celebrate the painting.
The unveiling of the painting, which I thought was weird. Because it's not like, it sounds like it's going to be a big party. Going to unveil this painting. No, that's not what it ends up being. And I was turned off by that.
But obviously we're supposed to be worried, like Chris is, when he finds out where she's going. The Lucard's going to turn her into a vampire. To which, when he tells her that he's worried, she says, don't worry, Chris. No one will ever replace you.
And then she touches him on the chin. She touches him on the chin. Like, ugh. Like the lady did to Sophie the last episode.
These are the sexual predator duet episode. Okay. So then we cut to the police station where Captain Wolf's office is apparently where every single extra walks through.
Yeah.
He's sitting there talking to Max, who's in his fucking fedora, and every other shot, there's somebody walking behind over to the window looking for something. But Max is going through all the facts he's just the facts, like, Dragnet.
Yeah.
Lucard didn't want garlic dressing on his salad, to which Wolf says, preferring Thousand Island is not a crime, just poor taste, which would have been funnier if the guy hadn't said it in a Canadian accent. Thousand Island. Thousand Island dressing in Luxembourg isn't a crime, Max.
Are you trying to do Scottish accent there?
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Rude. Rude. Okay. This is where Max shows him the proof.
Yes. The Polaroid.
Polaroid. Where Dracula is not. And he says, see, it's proof. And he says, it's a picture without Alexander Lecard in it. And Max is like, exactly. And I'm like, this is what Sophie was showing that lady last episode.
Yeah.
A bunch of pictures without Alexander Lecard in them.
Yeah. So this opens up an interesting question. It doesn't work on the police officer. Let's say your theory is correct and that the episodes were shown out of order. It doesn't work for the police officer, so they're going to try to do it for the other lady, the music lady. They think that it's going to work for somebody else.
Sophie Sophie did think that, but she also stole them from Gustav's desk, which means that Gustav thought they were proof that Dracula's a vampire. And I'm just like, this is why these people need to die. This is why this show just needs to feature Dracula killing them and eating them in front of us. And that's the end of the show.
Yes.
Maybe Mom can become a vampire too.
Like, and they can, oh my God, they can fang out, they can eat her children, and they can live glamorously the rest of their lives. I love this. So then the police captain says that Max is a fine little boy with an active imagination, but it's time for him to go. And Max is like, I don't want to go. And the cop's like, take a hint, kid. Get the fuck out. Yeah. Cut back to the Heisenberg collection, where Chris is just hanging out at the desk, raising that question of, remember when people just had jobs where they sat around and waited for people with computers who did actual work to come in and tell them what they found on their computer, and then the person said something and got paid 17 times as much as the person doing the actual work? Yeah. Now they get paid 37 times as much, but they have a smartphone. So we're going in a great direction, folks. Yeah. Okay. Chris goes in the back room for some reason and finds the painting that is being unveiled that night. Right. Which is concerning because that means there's a time problem. Only there's not, because then Chris looks at another painting and it's the exact same thing. Yes. Because she's a forger. But he doesn't know that, because this is the greatest line in the television episode, probably the whole series, probably any series ever. He goes home and asks, if an artist makes a great masterpiece, how many copies does he make? Good question. Good question. Good question. Okay. Sadly, it is not a callback. There's the Joni Mitchell live album, Miles of Aisles, or something like that. Somebody calls up to tell her to play something, and she's like, it's weird, man. Nobody's ever like, hey, man, paint that again, Rembrandt, or something like that. Chris, on the other hand, is like, paint that again, Rembrandt. Okay. So then we cut to the castle. They're going to go save her. And Sophie's leading the gang. So Gustav is with them. This is maybe the first time the family has gone on a vampire hunt to the castle, because usually they're trying to save somebody. Because usually the kids are just out to fix things. And then Gustav comes in and saves the day because they're dumb and bumbling. So this is the first time they've included Uncle Gustav. This is the first time they've got to all be dumb and bumbling at the same time. Okay, so this is where they say, Gustav's like, she's going to try to sell Lucard fake. That's not a good idea. And somebody's like, well, does he know that much about art? And this is where Max says, oh, he's only had 900 years to bone up on it. Yeah. Okay. Dracula has put a curse on all the doors since we were last here. Oh, yeah. So we're going to throw holy water on them to open the doors. When you throw the holy water on the cursed door, a bunch of dry ice comes off of it and it unlocks.
But Max and Sophie have to stay there to reapply the holy water to keep it from sealing. Why couldn't they? The door opens in. They could go in, and when they were leaving, they could throw the holy water on it and pull it open. Okay.
I don't know.
I'm wrong on the physics.
No.
Okay. So then we cut to dinner with Julia and Lucard.
And the cut is Julia going, "Oh, Lucard, you're so funny and charming." And I just thought that was the worst acting ever. It was
yes. Her range is she's more convincing as she encourages Chris.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
And then she says, "Well, that just sounds like you had drinks with Michelangelo." And Lucard's like, "Well, never. He was too splashy."
Too splashy.
Was he? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Because for like a split second, I was expecting some homophobia, but no. So he's going to go get some dessert wine for the unveiling. He's given the servants the night off.
I love that they just add that little detail to explain away why he's leaving the room. It was so unnecessary. Whatever.
Why was he even leaving the room? He was just leaving the room so Chris can open the door behind the dinner table.
Yeah.
And be like, "Psst, psst, Julia."
And then she could freak out. Good. Rightly
what
so.
Are you doing here? This has gone too far, Chris.
This has gone too far, Chris. I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl.
Like all Luxembourgian employers, I will molest you at work. So that she goes into the back hallway with him because she's got to get out of the room now because Lucard's got to come back in with the wine, be confused. Then Gustav comes in through the other door, which means he and Chris split up to do this.
Yeah. Okay. And they have a good enough idea of what this castle looks like on the inside that they know how to get to multiple entrances to the same room.
Don't they comment on how they're going to get lost because it's too big later?
Maybe.
Yeah. We don't actually see that one room with the fireplace this episode, which is a little weird. Yeah. Okay. So, also wait, the Picasso was 2 episodes ago. Who is he showing? The Picasso he was showing to the mom.
To mom. That was a couple episodes ago, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it was Van Gogh.
We already know.
Van Gogh.
We already know. Van Gogh. We already know. We aren't wearing our shirts today, folks. That's why we forgot. Okay. Gustav comes in with a cross, and we get some amazing body work from Lucard on avoiding the cross this episode. Just like the community theater where he applied to play somebody someday was like, "Nah, man, I saw that episode. We're not doing it. Sorry, Jordy."
Oh, poor guy.
Really, Helsing, this is a private party.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, he's being threatened with his life, and yet he still can be cool, calm, collected, and snarky.
I mean, he's been dealing with Gustav's whole life, and Gustav's family for his whole life, for hundreds of years now.
Yeah.
He knows that they're clowns.
Yeah.
Like,
they haven't got him so far.
One of these days, we're going to get him. Spoiler, folks. Probably not, because Dracula doesn't have a final episode. Okay. You're not going to possess her, Dracula. Oh, that was the other thing is, Gustav calls him Dracula.
Yes.
Not Lucard.
Not Lucard.
But you're not going to possess her. And Lucard's like, "What the fuck are you talking? This isn't what you're thinking, man." He then turns into a dog in what might be the finest special effects in this show. Because Lucard turns into a CGI, 1990 CGI, edited on VHS blob of black matter, who then becomes that is cut into being a black dog.
Yeah.
Best work, special effects work on the show.
Yeah.
ILM, eat your heart out. So then Chris is like, "No, Julia, here's the real Lucard." And she's like, "He's an old man chasing a dog," which should have been funnier. And she's like, "I'm getting back to my dinner, Chris." And then in she comes. In come the cops. "You're under arrest, Miss Julia Heisenberg." Lucard, the dog, has run out of the room. He's then going to walk back into the room transformed while Gustav is standing there in front of the cops.
Yeah.
In front of Captain Wolf with a stake and cross.
Yes. And he seems unaffected. Yeah.
Thank you for cooperating with our investigations. To which Lucard says, you only need to call on me. And Chris is like, but and Gustav's like, that's enough, Christopher. And then the cop's like, oh yeah, we found these other kids throwing water on your doorway. What do you want them to do with us? He's like, let them go.
He said, oh, kids. So another instance where he is letting those children go and he could feast on them and the show would be over and all of our lives would be better.
Or you could send them to Luxembourgian prison, which I'm sure is like Midnight Express. Okay. I've never seen Midnight Express. So,
neither have I.
Okay. So lets them go. Julie's in handcuffs. That's right. Okay. Lucard, somebody says he's a good citizen. I think Chris says this could have ended a lot worse. And Julie is like, worse? I can't imagine how.
Yeah.
And then Lucard sniffs her hair.
Ugh.
But he's like supposed to be like, looking at her neck, but it comes off as he's sniffing her hair.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty weird.
Cut to the end cap. Captain Wolf comes in and bows to Lucard. Lucard says, how did everything go? He says, perfectly. Lucard says, did you have time for a bite? To which Wolf laughs and we see his vampire teeth.
Yeah.
He was also out during the day, which means either it's Bram Stoker rules or Lucard gives his sunscreen to all these fools.
Well, it can't be Dracula Bram Stoker rules because Dracula dies at the end of that, right? So
not
maybe
from sunlight. He gets staked and he gets his head chopped off.
But he wouldn't be alive for the 1990 Dracula the series.
Well, no, it is not. I'm just saying rules. I'm not saying continuity.
Right.
Though in Bram Stoker's, there's a lot of problems with the novel, but also Van Helsing is a jackass.
Do you just hate it because it's epistolary?
No.
Okay.
I hate it because it's poorly written.
I don't like epistolary novels, so that's probably why I never read it.
I'm trying to think if there are any good examples of epistolary novels I do like, but I will say that the multimedia adaptation, so there have been a couple comic adaptations of the novel where they actually do the epistolary thing, and it's great. And it really works in that format. So I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just that it's really poorly written because it's written by a Victorian Englishman.
You know what? Actually, Frankenstein is written epistolary, and I love Frankenstein.
Yeah, but only some of it. Well, yeah.
I love it. I think it's beautifully written.
I do. Oh, I think Frankenstein is fucking great. Like, whatever. I love. Yes, I love Frankenstein. No, Dracula is nothing like that. Dracula's a piece of shit. It's a bad book. Okay, so what's the result of your biting, Captain Wolf?
Right.
Julia comes in. She gets no lines. And it looked like she was holding her mouth funny. So I was waiting for her to teeth out. She doesn't. But we'll get to that. We will get to why that's even worse. Okay. Dracula's like, you are a woman of rare talents. Cunning, beautiful, and cool under fire. And immortal. And he's like, and I knew that wasn't the painting because I was there when it was painted. What's up? Then he bites her again.
Yeah.
Dude's already presumably turned her into a vampire. Or she's become mindless zombie.
Maybe she's the mindless zombie at this point. And then
he's going to turn her into a vampire?
Maybe.
Okay.
That's kind of where I went with it.
And then that's it?
Ha
ha ha.
I don't have anything else to say. It was really bad. It was really bad. But the next episode,
it's making the psychic episode just look like so good.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye bye.